My name is Gavin Evans, and this is my review of Project X. And this movie came out in March 2012, and almost everyone I knew bought tickets for the Lorax and then snuck into this movie. Like, I was in grade 9, I was 15 when this movie came out, and I just can't express enough how huge, and I mean huge, this movie was. It was like a significant cultural event. Everybody saw it, everybody was talking about it. And for years to follow, people always called their parties the next Project X. Like, it might not have been a good thing, but this movie was very influential. So, for critics who are much older than me, this might just be forgettable trash, but for people of my age group, it just hits differently. I'm oddly very nostalgic for this movie, and I think it works as like a perfect snapshot of this time period. Like, it feels like it could go in a time capsule. And where to do I begin? Well, let's talk about the found footage. I thought it added plenty to this movie. The director, Nima Nouazedi, has directed plenty of music videos, and while watching this movie, you can tell, and I mean that in a very good way. He just brings this energy to this movie, and he just captures it ever so perfectly. And there's just so much here that people could relate to some degree. Like, in some ways, it's like the high school boy fantasy. And like, everybody always heard about these parties, everybody wanted to be invited to them, everybody would talk about them, and this movie just captured that so well. One of the most iconic moments is when Costa just watches the cops drive away, and then him and Thomas go to the backyard where everybody was being quiet. He raises his glass and he says, "To the break of dawn," and then Pursuit of Happiness started playing. Like, that scene, just perfect. And I do really like the soundtrack to this movie. I actually feel like it adds a bit more personality. It feels fitting for this type. And what I really like is the perfect escalation. At first, the characters are like, "Oh, be careful, don't do this, don't do that." Then they don't really kill as much, and then they just get to a point where they're just completely fucked and they don't kill. But then we also get this escalation of the party where it's in the backyard, it then moves inside, it then moves to the streets, and then it just gets way out of control. And it's just very entertaining to watch. Like, I always like it when movies escalate in entertaining ways. And on top of that, I do think it can be quite funny just how over the top it is. It does make me laugh. Now, that said, how's the morality of this movie? Not the best. Like, the movie can be quite sexist to an uncomfortable degree at times, and the movie ends with Thomas just fucking over his entire life, but then his dad is somewhat proud of him to a degree, and everybody cheers him and his friends on. So, like, it's not a happy ending, but it does kind of paint the party as a good thing, which maybe now I'm more critical of, but I still understand it from his point of view. And here's my defense against it, is that not every movie has to be a story about morality. This aims to be a party movie, and it does a great job at that. It is a really fun time, so it's not one of those movies I'm going to nitpick to death. It just isn't. Because quite honestly, lots of these parties, lots of this kind of environment is just kind of immoral to begin with. So why would I expect a movie reflecting it to be any different? It's not so over the top to the point where it takes me out. So it's just, if someone doesn't like this movie because of that, I can understand, but I'm just not on that same wavelength for this movie. Thomas Mann, I do think, does a really good job. He just is so perfect as this character who's a bit shy, a bit nerdy, but at the same time, he can be confident when needed, and I think he balanced those personalities out ever so perfectly. Oliver Cooper, I thought did really great. I'm kind of surprised he hasn't been in anything since. Like, you can look at his character and just think he's a Jonah Hill wannabe, but I still thought he brought enough of his own personality. He's completely unlikable and a terrible friend, but he plays it well. Jonathan Daniel Brown, I thought, did a very good job for everything he needed to do. Kobe Bliss Blanton is fine in this movie. Yes, Alexis Knapp is also fine in this movie. I do wish these two girls had a bit more personality. Like, there's a bit of a love triangle, but it doesn't go in depth as I would have liked it to go. Like, what has Colby and Thomas's relationship? It kind of seems like he was friend zoned, but he's not this night. Is it because of the party or what? And then he's into Alexis because she's absolutely stunning, and I don't know. I feel like this aspect of the movie could have been improved on. And the two security guards I thought stood out. Like, they brought plenty of personality to this movie. Miles Teller's in this movie for a little bit, and it's nice to see him heal. So, like, look, if you want some deep emotional look at the human condition, this isn't that. This isn't a movie about morality. This is about three teenagers throwing a massive party that gets out of control, and it delivers exactly that. It escalates ever so perfectly. It's filled with energy. It can be very funny. The soundtrack is iconic. It feels like a snapshot of this period. And it's a movie I've watched plenty of times and I enjoy it. So I'll give Project X an 8 out of 10. Okay, Project X. Have you seen it? What did you think? Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Stay tuned for more videos soon. And Gavin, out.